afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar today. We are doing our Christmas in July session today. We'll be talking about supercharging your holiday campaigns. My name is Larissa Bedgood. I am the VP of Marketing here at Porch Group Media. And with us to share all of her delightful insights is Amy Klenke, who is our VP of Product and Delivery. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
All right, without further ado, let's just go jump in, Amy.
Let's do it.
So one of the things that I've been reading about, and I know, just talking to a couple of internal folks at Porch Group Media, is that the trends seem to be that a lot of consumers are going to be starting their holiday shopping early. They're worried about shipping delays, of course, the economy. So we're seeing, what seems like a lot of people are going to be starting early. And, we have a couple of other trends listed here. Can you kind of walk us through some of what you're hearing and what you're seeing?
Sure. So more people, every year it gets bigger and bigger, but more people are buying online than ever. They got used to that during COVID, and they're just continuing. That trend is going to continue. It's not going to change. And because of that, they're paying more attention to emails, which is interesting. I think the stat you have here, 68% of shoppers are paying more attention to emails from retailers. And it's much easier to decide where to shop when you're getting an email from the person versus going to a store and browsing around. You can visit so many shops in one sitting just in front of your computer. It's a completely different experience. So they are relying on those emails to make them aware of promos and availability. And you really want to do that to prevent them from going to a particular site or two where they can order everything under the sun from one site. And I'm not going to mention it, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to stay relevant this season and you do not sell through that retailer, you want to make sure that you have a good email program.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because, yes, people are shopping earlier, but a lot of people aren't buying until the last week before Christmas, which sounds counterintuitive, right? But it's not, because they can shop online. They're doing it earlier. They're starting now, in fact, because they can do it while they're sitting at the pool. They don't have to wait for the decorations and everything to come out in the stores. So they're going to start their shopping now, but they're not going to buy until later.
Yeah, with me, invariably, I feel like, okay, I'm done. It's 5 days before the holidays. Nothing else I need to do. I'm like, well, I don't know if I have enough. I forgot my dog. My dog needs a couple of presents. So I'm always, I try to start early, and then I'm going, to the last minute. So absolutely great advice.
Something that I forgot to mention actually is that, yes, they like to shop online, but many of them do eventually purchase in person. They're just deciding what they purchase before they come to your store. So again, you need to make sure that they're aware of that. And email is much cheaper than direct mail, that's for sure. You need to make sure that you're standing out and getting your ads in front of them before they actually go to a brick and mortar and before they make their decisions.
I know we have a couple other slides to get through, so I don't want to harp on this too long, but that does seem to be a little bit of a variance from a few years ago with COVID, where it was research online, buy online. We really couldn't go into the stores. So I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind, that it is an offline and online purchase journey. So you have to start early with email, and then also engage them once they come into your store. So yeah, that's great advice. So obviously audience matters, and make sure you're targeting the right person. So what are a few tips that you can offer to get your audience in shape?
So your best resource is your existing customers, or people who have signed up to get offers from you. Um, you should definitely start there. You don't have to pay for that data. You already own it. You just need to activate it and do it with intent and smartly, right? Is that a word? Smartly? It is now. So,
Yep.
so first and foremost, you need to get that data in shape. Make sure that everything is validated. Make sure that the emails are live, that you have correct contact information. Sometimes there are syntax errors. People type something in and they, if there's one letter wrong, or sometimes they give a fake email address, and you want to weed those out before you start mailing, or else it's going to hurt your delivery overall. Because once emails start bouncing, it becomes clear to Gmail, Yahoo, etc., that that the messages are unsolicited
Mhm.
because it's a bad
Right.
email, and then they start bouncing everything. So it's really important to validate that before you start mailing. You also want to add additional information to your data so that you can gain insights and maybe segment before you start mailing. Again, whether that's email, whether that's direct mail, whether that's onboarding your data for digital use. Often your entire customer base does not have the same characteristics.
Mhm.
Many companies have several different kind of profiles of people who shop with them. And so you want to send them different messaging wherever possible. People strongly prefer getting ads that are tailored to their preferences.
Right.
And sometimes you don't have enough information to do that. So unless you've asked your customers to give you a lot of information about them, what you're going to need to do is rely on some third-party data to get those additional insights. And then you can segment your audience and create separate groups to get separate messages that are more appropriate for them.
One of the things just kind of that jumped out at me on the slide is just it just seems so simple, and I think a lot of us forget it, but just cleaning up your database can have
Oh, for
such a
sure.
huge impact. I know when we clean our own database, we don't have this massive, like B2C database, but it makes quite a difference. And we try to do that once a
Hmm.
year. So
Hmm.
just something simple, but definitely something to keep in mind, especially before such a high spending time of year to get that in
Yes.
order.
Yes. If you mail your customers regularly, then it shouldn't be too big of a deal. But if you really only push out for holiday or special event promos, it's really important to validate it all before you send it.
Right, sure. So lots of fun holiday audiences to target. It was kind of fun, talking to you about some of these different ones. What are a couple of points that you can highlight here for the folks on the webinar today?
So again, when we talk about personas, right? Many of us have used a service or an agency to build customer personas. And then you want to add to that. So some examples are you can find information about interests, even for your own customers, even if they haven't told you that. The information is available out there. Um, and and you can have it added to your customer records so that you know what they're shopping for now, what they're researching now, what they're talking about now or reading about through their online behavior. You can connect that to your existing customers and then send them the appropriate offers.
Right.
Uh, you can also find information and people who are not your customers based on interest, as well as personas like who is a holiday deal shopper, who typically looks for deals versus people who are maybe luxury shoppers.
Mhm.
Um, those those are very different shoppers, and a very different type of message is going to resonate with them. And particularly if you have products that kind of span the spectrum of, more of a budget product versus a higher end product, then you can figure out how to split up your audience and highlight those
Right.
different product types for those different audiences. Um, I mean, the options are limitless. There are hundreds, hundreds of different categories out there where the data is collected in a privacy compliant way. A lot of it is
Hmm.
self-reported, intentionally or unintentionally, or inferred or derived, and it's really useful information.
Right. Yeah.
You really do want to split it up, and it's not a one size fits all situation.
Right. Right. Sure. That's, yeah, that's good to keep in mind that there are so many ways to slice and dice,
Mhm.
that, you can segment and find unique audiences from, like you said, like, people who are shopping for different things, people are,
Mhm.
looking for deals. Is That's what I had a lot of fun talking to you about this the other day. I was like, wow, there's a lot.
So I just want to say something about the in market and the online behaviors, uh, because I often talk to clients who say, I do that all the time. I do retargeting. But you don't know who they are. And what we're talking about is finding out that information about your own customers, being able to identify the person who is
Mhm.
interested, um, without divulging any websites they were on or anything like that. There there are general categories out there available that are based on online behavior, without giving away so many specifics that it becomes a privacy issue. So there
So
is a
that
happy medium there that people don't
Right.
necessarily realize is available.
So this might be another topic, but it sounds like you're talking a little bit. So we're not talking cookie based. This is, you heard you say individuals.
Yep, we're talking about individuals, Amy Klenke at 123 Main Street, based on her online behavior, she or someone in her household is interested in the following topics.
Hmm.
So, cookies are used to enhance that, but it's not reliant on cookies, nor will it ever be.
Yeah, that's,
Uh,
we're actually, speaking of that, we've done several webinars on that, in the past. I'm sure we'll have more, but I think that's a really great distinction. With
mhm.
in-market shoppers, you're just kind of thinking it's like, oh, we've, tracked you with a cookie, but just to have a set that's tied to an individual person, I think is very
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, you can add that to your existing customer database. You can find new customers based on that information, and you can reach them through email, direct mail,
Mhm.
more direct communication than kind of an anonymized digital situation.
Right, right, sure. Of course, we love a bonus tip. I love this. So, what is this? Don't neglect the after season shopper.
Yes, yes. Shopping does not stop when the holidays are over. Um, you know, Not only do you have the typical exchanges, right? And it returns for store credit and people are gonna, buy other things. But there are so many things that, oh, I really wish I got that and I didn't get that. I'm gonna go
Mhm.
buy it for myself, right?
Yes, yes,
Or
yeah.
gift certificates,
Guilty.
right? Right. And brick and mortar locations particularly know that some of their busiest days in the store are after Christmas,
Uh-huh.
before kind of the lull hits at the end of January, beginning of February. But that lull is less pronounced now just because shopping patterns have changed post-COVID.
Right, yeah.
It's an
Yeah, that's
interesting
interesting to keep in mind.
phenomenon. Hmm.
Sure.
hmm So you do want to plan for those late, I'm sorry, I know we're running out of time and I'm talking too
No,
much.
you're good. This is, yeah.
Plan ahead for those people who are going to shop at the last minute is the other tip there, because they're again, even though they're looking, a lot of them are not going to buy until the last minute.
Right. And of course, we all like to receive, we have our certain channel preferences. And I know you're going to dive into, some of these, but for me, I love checking my emails. I get excited, like, okay, what deals are there in my email? And I always love a good catalog. So kind of, talk a little bit about the mix, maybe a couple of
Hmm.
high level insights on some of
Hmm.
these channels.
Yeah. So everything old is new again, right? And there's so
Hmm.
much nostalgia these days about, oh, I remember getting the Sears catalog and looking through all the toys and that's direct mail if you can afford it is always a really, really excellent idea for the winter holidays.
Right.
Um, but no matter what, we talked about email being we talked about people paying more attention to their email and more attention to offers they're getting in their email than they did in the past. Uh, but you have to be really careful that you're hitting them in multiple places at the same time. I've seen people try and fail banking on just programmatic display or
Hmm.
just social or just email. Just email is a big mistake. Um, you know, there's no reason you can take your email audience, whether it's your customers or whether it's acquisition, third party recipients, and you can limit your programmatic display or your social or do some connected TV. I'll go into that a little more to that same audience, which I think a lot of people don't realize they can do.
Right.
Usually when marketers, when we go into our DSP to do programmatic display or when we're going into the different social platforms to do social advertising, most of us rely on the data they already have,
Right, right.
right? But again, that's anonymous. So you are able, sometimes it has to go, through an agency or a third party. Yes, we do it, but it is available for you to
Hmm.
take the data and onboard it so that when you set up your ad, you're limiting the recipients to only the people who are also getting your email or your direct mail.
Right.
That way, it's easier to measure the impact of your campaign because you can post campaign, you can look at the people who actually purchased and match them up because you know who you serve the ads to. And even
Hmm.
though display and social, you don't know exactly who got the impression, but you certainly know that it could only be someone in this list.
Yeah,
If,
right. So
if
it's
it's
really
someone who
driven by the
wasn't,
audience.
yeah, if it's someone who was not in your custom audience, then it wasn't caused by the campaign. But if it was, then it probably was.
So I think in a couple slides, I actually will talk about that then. But so you could basically take an audience that you are deploying an email and port it over to connected
Oh yeah.
TV. Okay,
Hmm.
that's great.
Hmm. You can put it, so social and programmatic display and connected TV are all similar in the sense that you there is an anonymized component, right?
Hmm.
Because there are privacy regulations.
Right, sure.
So often you are not able to see exactly who viewed it. And all of them are based on a bidding system.
Hmm.
So you put in, I want to spend X amount of money, and here are the only people I want you to target. And here's the most I want to bid per ad space. And then there's a split second auction anytime someone on your list hits one of the pages that are in the display network or hits that social app or is watching Hulu and it's time for the ad. There's that split second auction that happens.
Hmm.
And if you win the bid, then um, then your recipient gets to see the ad. So at the end of the day, you don't know exactly, but you have a lot more control if you're starting with a custom audience that you can identify that you're using across multiple channels. Now,
Right.
CTV is my favorite. It's just so cool.
Right, right. I think
It's
we
so
have that.
cool, right?
Yeah.
Because the days of okay, I'm going to hit everyone in this DMA or in this target market, and um, everyone's going to see the same commercial. You don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do
I'm
that anymore.
actually,
Like,
you know what? Hold that thought. I'm going to jump
oh, I'm sorry.
ahead. No,
Yeah,
I'm going to jump
we
ahead
can
to
go in
that
order.
one because we're excited about this, and then we'll go back to a few of the others.
You can fairly easily set up CTV campaigns that are limited to your custom audience,
Mhm.
which means that you can segment your audience. And so different people will see different commercials, even if they live in the same geo. It doesn't even matter where, if you're a national brand and it doesn't, geography doesn't matter to you, that's fine. The CTV outlets, the services like Hulu, I always say Hulu, but almost all the streaming services, you have to have a login to use the service. So they know who you are.
Right.
So they are able to match up, if as a marketer I say, I really want to reach Amy Clanky and Larissa Bedgood, and I really want them to see this ad. So if you can find it for this price, serve them this ad, and those streaming services know who you are, so they're able to match you and find you and serve the ad. And that benefit goes both ways, right? So as a consumer, I loathe seeing the same commercial over and over and over and over
Right,
again,
right.
right? I would love to see some more variety in those CTV ads, and I would love for them to be things I'm actually interested in,
Uh-huh.
right?
I the last, couple of months, I've noticed a couple times when I browsed, I'm like, wow, there it is on CTV, or, I'm on my Netflix show or whatever it is, maybe not Netflix, but
Right.
then I go search it. So I know that I have been influenced by those for sure.
Hmm.
I'll then, talk about the omni-channel, cross-channel, cross-device experience. Then I may go to my computer or my phone to look it up. So it
Yep.
is a great touch point.
Yeah. If you get think about it this way, if you get an email um, that lets you know about a promo,
Hmm.
and then you see the commercial while you're watching your show on your streaming service. And imagine if that had a QR code on it. I have seen them come up on, when
Right.
I'm watching TV, where it has the QR code so you can find more information. And then a week later, you get another email. So just in case you forgot or, whatever the case may be, it's going to remind you, oh yeah, I wanted to look at that. Uh,
Right.
the,
Yep.
the more, and then you see it pop up in your social feed and you're like, okay, a good marketer is going to limit the number of times the same person sees the ad. That's always a good idea. Don't
Hmm.
spend, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure that your media dollars are being spread out amongst your audience. Um, and you're not overwhelmed, spending it all on one person. But um, it's really powerful once you have those multiple touches and they're spread out a little bit. You don't have to jump on them all at once.
Right.
Spread
Sure.
them out. Do an email in the beginning, or start a digital display, like a programmatic display or a social. Start that first. Let that run for like a week, then send out your email and start your CTV. And then, 3 weeks later, send out another email. So it's not a once and done.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so we talked about email being important. I love this. I love some of the tips that you have here. What are a couple of things that you can share with us?
Well, I mean, I'll say number 3, we've covered that pretty
Right.
thoroughly. Segment your audience. Don't send the same thing to everybody. Start early. I think you have a stat here that you got, not me, but people start looking for products online about 41 days before the holidays. I'm going
I
to
think
say
it's actually even
probably even
earlier
earlier.
than that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, and so don't wait until November, even October. Start now.
Yeah.
Start now. Get your ads out. August, you know, at the very latest, early September, you want to start your holiday marketing.
And I do love a good emoji in my emails. I am one of
Yeah,
those that I will open up a email based on an emoji.
yes. Emojis in the subject line are great. Don't overdo it, be tasteful, but they are
Right.
effective when done well. Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. And I think we
Um,
talked about the promos for last minute shoppers too.
yes, yes. And I think I
Mhm.
have one more on direct mail, and then we
Uh,
can go to, we still have a couple of questions or a couple of minutes for questions.
Direct mail, that's art. Everything old is new again, right? There is a lot of nostalgia for getting things in the mailbox. Of course, you need to make it stand out. We all know that. It usually a larger, heavier weight postcard is good. You don't have to open it to flip through the pages. Um, it's hard to, it's going to stand out in you when you have that stack of mail in your hand. And often it gets left on the coffee table, left
Hmm.
on the kitchen counter, and it hangs around. So you're gonna get multiple impressions out of that for just the one piece.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and in contrast to any other channels, right? You can have an ad blocker on your browser. You can delete emails without opening them. When something's in the mailbox, it's in the mailbox. You have to
Right.
physically take it with your hand and then either throw it out or not, or, most people don't throw it out right away. It lingers. Um, that's one of the reasons I always suggest don't send a direct mail piece with a very short, kind of limited promo window.
Hmm.
You want
Right.
to
Yeah.
make sure they have a few days to act on that promo after they get the mail. It's not, if you, I don't know if it's ever happened to you. It certainly happened to me. I get something in the mail and like, oh, it ended yesterday. Or,
Yes.
oh, I only have today and tomorrow, but I can't go until the weekend. So uh,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
not a best practice.
quick little note that
Yeah.
some of you relate to. I was very excited. I've never had a crumble cookie. I've heard these are very good.
Oh my gosh.
So I got a coupon for a free crumble cookie. I'm like, absolutely, maybe one or two. Kept it in my purse. I looked at it and I was like, no, it expired. I was gonna go there with my daughter. But right, that's kind of a funny example that made
Yep.
me a little sad,
Yep.
but
But
relevant.
if so, think about it. If you had gotten that, you got that coupon, you put it in your purse, you intended to go and you forgot. But what if you had gotten one or two emails to remind you that you had the coupon?
Right? Absolutely. That would have,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
encouraged my
That
taste
is
buds to head over there
that
sooner.
is yeah, it's actually a tried and true old school kind of approach. We used to call it the bookend campaign. So you send an
Uh-huh.
email right before the direct mail piece is going to hit, and then you send another email like within a few days of when they probably got it. So you're
Love
building
that.
you're building the expectation that they're going to be getting it, then they get it and it's lingering around, and then they get another email to remind them. Very, very effective.
Great advice.
Hmm.
So we do have, well, we're just a touch over, but we will stay on a few extra minutes if anybody has questions. We did get one or two questions. Before we wrap up, just a couple of quick items. We did record this, so we'll send this out tomorrow afternoon at some point. So take a look in your email boxes for the recording. If you'd like a copy of the deck, just let me know. I'm happy to shoot that on over to you. And on July 27th, we have our next webinar scheduled. This is about first-party data and 5 reasons why first-party data is your best friend. So that should be another good, we're trying to keep
Hmm.
these snack-sized webinars at 30 minutes. We hope you can join us for that. Just a couple of questions, like I said. The first one is, we are a large retailer. Do you have any success stories of how your clients are segmenting that are successful?
Yes.
I don't know if we have any use
So
cases that may be relevant.
I do have one. It was kind of a combination of a retention play and an acquisition play. So it was an auto manufacturer of a particular type of auto, not a dealership, manufacturer. And we did two things. We were doing a campaign that allowed us to identify existing owners of that make who were shopping for a different make, right? So we were
Hmm.
trying to help them retain.
Right.
And then we also did a straight up acquisition, find new customers, people who did not already own that type of vehicle.
Uh-huh.
Um, the retention campaign, we just did a general profile to find some non-auto related things about those people that can impact. And I'll tell you what it was in a minute, but we found the same thing through the acquisition campaign, not something that you would really think of related to a vehicle. We did the acquisition campaign, and then post campaign, we looked at the people who purchased and matched them to our file to see which ones received
Hmm.
this was an email campaign, but it was multiple emails sent over the course of a few weeks. Who purchased, who got our emails, and we profiled them. And what we found was that a lot of them owned a dog.
Oh, wow.
Like, what does it
Yep.
have to do, right? Um, so, so then we started segmenting offers, um, and people who owned dogs got a picture of a dog in the back seat.
That's
And
great.
the
I love
engagement
that.
was so much higher. It was really, I don't know, it was like 2 times higher than the standard,
Uh-huh.
which is significant when you have a big
Right.
group.
Absolutely.
So I strongly recommend that if you have not had a profile of your customers done, you may think you know who they are and you may think that you know all about them, but you may not know everything relevant. There are always tidbits that you can learn about them
Right.
that don't seem to have anything to do with your product. And that information can help you with your messaging. It can help you with your timing. It can help you with your channels. It can help you with branding, product placement. I mean, there's so much information that you can get just out of that simple action.
That kind of brings us back to the webinar in a few weeks about first party data. And those are insights that you can only get from first party data. So interesting.
Oh, did I rain on Todd's parade?
No, we
It's
will
all
we
right.
will
It's all right.
we will
It's
include that one.
fine.
So one more quick question and I'll let
Yeah.
you all get back to your days or day. So we've been doing some traditional advertising, TV advertising, but want to do CTV this year. Are there any tips that you can share on just, first steps in getting started?
Yes. Profile your customers.
There
It's
you go. We heard again.
honestly, almost anytime you're going to spend money on any marketing, just do that first. Do that first. It's not going to be that expensive. It doesn't take that long. Um, but but that will tell you who to target, right? And the other tip I have for CTV is always if you can use a custom audience so that you can reach those same people in multiple channels. I know I sound like a broken record. That's really the best approach.
And by the way, we offer profiling.
That's not why I said it, Larissa.
I know, but that is really good though advice. It's kind of goes back to some of those things that you don't necessarily think of that you just go straight
Yeah,
to what channels, who's the audience, but it's backing up and making sure you have that strong
yeah.
foundation that I think is very good advice that we sometimes just kind of skip over.
Not to be trite, but you don't know what you don't know.
Right, exactly. So on that note, this has been fun. I love talking with you, Amy. Hopefully you all enjoyed it today. Would love to hear from you. Join us for in a few weeks. We're going to try to do another half-hour webinar every few weeks. Obviously you're all signed up for our emails, so stay tuned for more information. And have a good rest of your day. Thank you all.
Thank you, Larissa. This was great.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.